You know, one thing we haven't talked about here, Fred, is the man himself, Ray Kroc. How was he involved in this whole process?
Yeah, it's amazing because the first house was very small. It was only 6 bedrooms. So the house in Chicago was like 3 years later. And Ray Kroc got involved, and then many other people started asking about the houses. Al Golan was his public relations man, and he was tremendous. And he really encouraged Ray that this was a really good thing. And so they hired a fellow by the name of Bud Jones. And he did 3 things. He was responsible for the houses, and he was responsible for the All-American basketball, high school basketball. And back then, they had the All-American band. They had 2 people from each state, and they did the Macy's Parade, and they did the Rose Bowl. And that was his job. And so
it was a big job.
So Bud Jones actually put in the next 100 Ronald McDonald houses. But Ray Kroc, he thought there'd only be about 10 houses in the major cities, you know, like LA and Philadelphia and Chicago and places like that, because you won't be able to afford it.
Right.
But he made a mistake and underestimated 3 things. One was the need. There's a tremendous need for these houses.
Right.
The second thing, he underestimated the operators. The operators really got behind these houses. And the third thing he really estimated was the volunteers, because you can't run these houses without volunteers. The money is just not available. These Ronald McDonald houses really started to grow.
Right.
You know, in '74, you had the one in Philadelphia.
Right.
Then 3 years later, one in Chicago, and then Denver. And all of a sudden, you know, they start popping up everywhere. There's 365 Ronald houses in over 40 countries today. And the reason is they're really needed. Where would these families stay? And so as they started growing, they asked Kim and I to go to openings. So we started going to openings. The first big one, well, the first one was LA. That was 1979. We broke ground. 1980 it opened. And she cut the ribbon with Ronald and opened it. And then they asked her to go to Duke University, then Tucson, then Milwaukee. So she used to go with me as a teenager. And after she graduated from high school, she went to college and unfortunately got pregnant and had a baby, and everything was going fine. But then a couple years later, she came down with brain tumors because of the radiation. And the brain tumor was the size of a softball, and the other one was the size of a golf ball. And you know, it's amazing. We opened this house with Kim and her son, the Orange County house, and she said, "Dad, do you think we could stay at the Orange County house?" And so we actually stayed right here.
Of course you can.
During the surgery at St. Joe's. Yeah, unbelievable.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was great. Wow, it just came back around, didn't it?
Yeah.
Shoot, and then they just started popping up everywhere and grew and grew and grew. And were you there the whole ride along with that?
Yeah, you know, it's been over 40 years now, 43 years. And Kim loved going to openings and talking to everyone. But unfortunately, the next year the tumor came back. You know, we talked about 3.5 years earlier of chemotherapy. I don't know how my wife did it, because you're talking every single day at the hospital and getting injections, getting spinal taps, getting bone marrow tests, and then after 3.5 years, 20 years later, start all over again. That tumor came back the next year, and the next year, and the next year. She ended up having 5 surgeries, and each surgery, you know, knocked out like her legs and her arms, and it was really sad.
Her motor skills.
So Fran took care of her for another 20 years before she passed away 6 years ago.
Oh, 6 years ago. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
But you know what? We opened up the Fresno house, and she was probably about 14, do you think, Fran?
She was 17.
17. And they interviewed her.
At the time, I didn't enjoy being sick, but I'm glad I did get sick, because through all my suffering, a great thing has come from it.
And we never asked her to say that or anything, but that's how she felt in her heart. And she was so proud that she was part of the inspiration for the first house.
Wow. To change the landscape of the way things are done right now, that is a meaningful life.
That's for sure. And you know, all along, she always had that hope that she'd get better. That's why I have so much love and concern for these families. As long as parents can be by their children. I was with Kimmy every day of her life, of course, but from the time she started her first serious treatments, we were together. And then when she became ill again, I was with her. And when parents are with their kids feel like, I'm going to get better. And so that's why these houses are so wonderful.
Yeah. You've had an impact that's international, and it's amazing. You know, because when you think about some people chipping in and helping, and whether there's a disease, you want to find the cure. But there's so many other ancillary needs out
Exactly.
there. And you found a
Exactly.
need that needed to be fulfilled. You know?
That's exactly. If you go to these houses and really spend time in them, you see all the things that they offer to families for support, besides a roof over their head and meals and rides back
Comfort.
and forth to the house. But really loving people. That some of these parents are so young and their parents aren't even close by. So they come in here, and when you come in at the end of the day and you smell dinner cooking, it's just it's really a comforting thing. But a lot of the houses have social workers that work with them. There's psychologists, psychiatrists.
It keeps the whole family together too, because a lot of times they have brothers and sisters. What do? They can't really go to the hospital. So
Right.
when they're staying here, there's a place for them to play, and they got video games and fun things for them. So it's more like a home.